How excited are we this week for the game against Atlanta, knowing full well it is Hendon Hooker at the controls?
Let's go.
I'm excited.
The Hooker Bowl.
No, I mean it. I'm excited, and I'm excited for him. I told you, I try not to give up on guys too quickly. I try as best I can to give them a chance to grow and things of that nature. But I dare I say it's borderline vital for him to play well,
and that's why I feel so bad for him.
He's in his own head right now.
Imagine waiting all this time.
Why do you feel bad for him?
Because he gets his shot, and we all know the pressure on him, and he has a preseason staff. He has preseason running backs, preseason receivers. He has practice squad players to make him look good. He has to give us a show with D2 players essentially.
Well, wait a minute. Do you think some of those well, he did play with 2 draft picks that were pretty important.
Yes, again.
And he did play with Shane Zylstra, who also played in NFL
If you had
games.
your career on the line, who would you rather have? The Lions starters or some Lions players that are still trying to
my man probably like
or play against, or even better, not even to throw salt on them, to play against a defense that's going to be good. I'd rather prove myself against an actual defense that you would see in the NFL. Because
do you feel bad for Do you feel bad for Dominic Lovett? Because he had to play with a backup quarterback.
No, it's not. I feel
the
like
wide receiver's playing with a guy who's dying for a chance.
I kind of do because that first drop. Every time we talk about he had a good game,
Kyle Allen,
that first drop.
Kyle Allen.
Yeah.
But still, that adds to the pressure on his own. I feel like he did that to himself. The pressure from Hendon Hooker is from the team. I hate to say that because of the Bridgewater situation, Bridgewater Gate, if you want to, if you will.
I don't know, man. That's an interesting debate, man. Because I think
definitely an interesting debate.
First of all, if you're the pressure, you're a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
All right. You've got a pretty good idea of what the Lions are looking for. You've had 2 years in the system.
Well, I hope so.
Okay. You've got 2 years in the system. It's basically the same system. Okay. The previous 2 years where you couldn't get on the field, one, he was injured, granted, but he's in the system. This system probably isn't too diverse based on, John Morton's history with the team. Mm-hmm. So why am I not feeling bad for the guy who's just learning this for the first time and getting passes from a guy who is trying to make this team any more so than a guy who's trying to make this team throwing passes to a guy who's also trying to make this team?
I feel that.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that with Hendon Hooker, I think that a lot of people I know at least in the conversations and in the chat, there was a lot of people early on who thought he was the heir apparent. That when the golf window was closed, that Hendon Hooker, that I am so
because of where he was drafted.
Where he was drafted.
Because of the school he played.
And I do believe that people put some stock, the school he played, and people put some stock into Brad Holmes as well.
Sure.
We're going to identify, we take the discount injured player, but we know how to rehabilitate them. Now, all of a sudden, you see Hendon Hooker, who showed a little bit of promise. Everybody's been clamoring that this is the guy we need. Remember, before people bought in completely to Jared Goff, it was about all of the skill set that Hendon Hooker possessed is where the game was headed. Now you have this guy. You have, 2 years left in the Jared Goff contract. Not that they won't extend that window. And now you have a bunch of fans who are probably sitting here saying, whoa, we didn't put together what the Packers were able to do when they were able to say, hey, we have this quarterback with this other one waiting in the wings. Yeah. Another quarterback with this one waiting in the wings. And I wonder if people are putting more of their hopes on the longevity of the Lions window on a backup quarterback, more so than on what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell will be able to do to keep the ship moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do think there's a lot of fans out there who are saying, get through this year and let's draft another one.
I'm starting to hear that way more than ever. There are some who, and I don't know in your circles, who are starting to be who are cooling on Hendon Hooker. I know our guy JB Smooth, shout out to Woodward Sports MVP. He is on that bus until the wheels fall off. He thinks Hendon Hooker still has an opportunity to go out there and ball out, and he wants to see the Lions give him the best opportunity, similar to you. Yeah. So you're saying you don't think Hooker's getting his best opportunity?
Best opportunity.
Put him out there with Craig Reynolds and with the so let him start.
Well,
he's going to get that opportunity.
He'll be with Craig Reynolds this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to get that now.
Way
less.
But you're referring, I assume, to him giving him the best chance with the twos, right?
That's all he's going to get in preseason.
Yeah, that's all he's going to get in preseason. Yeah. He may get shots with the ones in scrimmages.
Scrimmage.
I find that hard to believe. I mean, he might get one or two
that.
snaps, but he's not going to do that. This is too important of a. It's always kind of baffled me how people want. We know he's a backup. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody who doesn't think he's a backup has not been paying attention or just woke up from a coma. So why do we feel the need to get him reps with the ones, taking away those reps from Goff because we know
those
what
are
he
the
is?
Only reps Goff is going to get with the ones is in scrimmages.
Thank you.
Yep.
So why would we do that? If you feel like this, if this year's that important, if you feel like this is a year where you're just growing and maybe you're hoping to surprise, which I don't think anybody does. No Lions fan thinks that. I want my starter to get as many reps as possible with his guys.
Yeah.
If Hendon Hooker needs reps with the ones, get him in practice.
And even that, I think it's going to be tough. I do. I think it's going to be tough for him. This is a situation where maybe Goff and the ceiling he's pushed his Lions team to just completely discombobulated the Hendon Hooker window. Just absolutely. Any aspect of hope. Not that he shouldn't be still going out there and working, because his comments left me probably more disappointed than the play on the field. I almost want him to say
Hooker's comments.
I just want him just bad game.
Explain for the audience.
After the game, it was just like, yeah, getting our feet wet. I could have played better. But then a couple days later, there was other comments of, I was real disappointed in my performance. I didn't want him to even double down in it.
Yeah,
I wanted him to just turn the page and keep it moving, even afterwards. But it seemed like
if you ask him that question,
himself.
you've asked questions of athletes. If you're asking the questions and he says, I've moved on, then he looks like a jackass. If he answers it, you feel like, you're dwelling on the past. I don't think he's dwelling on the past. I think he's forgotten it. I hope he's forgotten it.
Yeah.
You have to forget it.
I hope he's not
sure
pressing.
He did it at the collegiate level. It's hard not to.
You're right.
It's hard not to. When you put up the numbers that he did and you looked as awkward as he did, that's hard not to press.
If he's reading
I wouldn't blame him.
Clippings, because think about it. Everybody in the Lions has been able to read their clippings the last few years, right? Yeah. Pretty much.
If they choose.
Josh
if they choose to pay attention to the media, if they choose.
But now, this is the time that if he was paying attention at all before this year, this is the year now that he's going to start seeing things. So I do wonder if these components are pressing. That's why I almost want him to just be like, you know what? It's a bad game. First game of the season. I'll get him next week.
Here's what I hope happens. He's going to start Friday against Atlanta. I hope they get him in an early rhythm. You don't have to do that by going downfield. I hope they do. I don't care if it's a swing pass. I don't care if it's an out pattern. I don't care if it's a run to start the game and then a play action roll where you're just tossing to the tight end on a drag route. I don't care. I would like to see him try and build some confidence and then see what he's like. I would remind people, though, if you're not going to judge him on how bad he was in game one, I hope you're careful on judging him in game two.
You're talking to a bunch of people who just plug their ears, because if he has any semblance of a good game, you already know we're going to face that next show.
Yeah, I know. And it's really too bad, because Kyle Allen, I thought Kyle Allen threw some decent passes. Okay. Now it'll be role reversal, right? So you're going to see Hendon Hooker and then Kyle Allen would be my guess.
That's going to be interesting.
Okay. And it will be interesting, because even at the beginning, they're still playing alongside guys who are trying to make this team.
Yeah.
Okay. So how in the world is he going to be able to succeed with similar football packages that he had from before in last week's game against the Chargers?
I wonder how much of what he's going through right now as a quarterback, is he able to just play off of his instinct, off of his mobility, skill set, and such on the field to make the plays work? Or is he in a position where he's trying to run the plays to a degree and he's just not caught up to speed? Like I think
he looked awkward.
Instinct. Yeah, that's
I thought he looked awkward.
I didn't think the instinct was there.
And there are some times when you look at certain players and you feel like, man, they're thinking a lot. I remember this last year. Different sport, okay? Torkelson's in the box. He looks like he's trying to be too mechanical, okay? He looks completely different. They've done a really good job during the broadcast of breaking down of how comfortable he is, what he's done to adjust his stance with his hands and his posture and things of that nature.
And we all say he looks way more comfortable in the batter's box now.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
And I'm feeling the same way about Hendon Hooker. How are they going to make him comfortable? What is it about this offense that might thrive? John Morton has forgotten more football than the four of us will ever know. Yep. All right. So he's got a pretty good idea of what the strengths are of his backup quarterback is. How are you going to implement those during the game? During live bullets, how are you going to be able to handle it?
Now all of a sudden, as much as we want to see the ones get reps in preseason, it almost seems as important to make sure that your backup and your depth pieces can have it. Now I agree with Justin. Justin's going to scream this from every mountaintop he can. If there is no Jared Goff, there is no expectation. But if you need your backup for a drive, for a quarter, or for a game, this is where I do think it's better in a year where the offense is changing, the terminology is changing. No matter if it's a lot or a little bit, for a backup quarterback who was still trying to find his way, I do think it's important for him to get those reps. I'm looking forward to him getting the number 1 reps this year, and this week. And I know people can say, but it's just a backup quarterback. Look, there are some teams on the way to Super Bowls, or even just getting to the Super Bowl, who have had to rely in some shape or form on depth and on backups.
That's we talked about that last week. We talked about that last week with Jake Browning put on a really good show for Cincinnati a couple of years ago. There are teams that you're going to. There's a reason you have 54 on the roster, and there's a reason you're active with. I think it's 48. Okay, every single Sunday, and that is because those guys have to be ready. So I understand that. I'm just saying and I want a guy you're confident in for a series, a quarter, a half, or a game. If I've got to go deeper than that, and it's 3+ games, I'm scared to death with what the Lions have right now.
Are you surprised that they have kicked this can as long as they have, allowed this thing to kind of see what it's going to be while they've still brought in other backup quarterbacks? Because you would think by now they would have just turned the page, and that's what makes me think.
Well, who's the best backup quarterback in football?
Would you say Kirk Cousins?
I would say Kirk Cousins. We said this last week. Mac Jones, But if you had Mitch Trubisky, but if you had to have those guys throughout the entire year, would you feel good? You'd be going, Trubisky couldn't play in Chicago. What makes me think he's going to play here in Buffalo? Kirk Cousins got benched in Atlanta. Why would I think he's good enough to play here? Right? Mac Jones couldn't cut it in New England. Lost out to Bailey flipping Zappy. Why would I think he can cut it? My point is, as much as I think Jared Goff might be the most important player on any team this year, ask Kansas City how important Patrick Mahomes is. Ask Buffalo how important Josh Allen is. Ask Philadelphia how important Jalen Hurts is. It's not unique. What we're experiencing, what we fret, is not unique to any other good football team with a quality quarterback.
So what you're saying is we worry too much about the backup quarterback for decades.
No, I don't think so at all. I'm trying to think of, if you wanted to be back, in the 1990s and have Eric Kramer battling Rodney Peete, it was a pretty good problem to have, because both those guys in 92 each won 6 games. Detroit won 12 games overall. That's pretty damn good. Okay. Peete was a 6th-round draft pick. Kramer was a guy that, that the team seemed to respond to. Hey, you know what? I think he was a 6th-round pick. Rodney Peete was. I can't recall. But, I mean, that wasn't a bad situation to have. Not many teams have really good situations with their quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that are starting to worry a little bit about what they have. If you go through what each team needs, all right, what would you say the biggest need for the Detroit Lions is? The biggest need is in.
I was going to say, at one point in time, I would have said opposite edge of Hutch, but now I'm going to say, I just want to know what the interior of the offensive line is going to be.
I think just about everybody would suggest that. Okay. And that's fine, because I think that's right. Most teams, though, when you start to look at what teams are looking for, what they need, like, if you don't think people in Tennessee, Cam Ward has really elevated his play in practice and in some of these scrimmages and stuff, and that's good. I mean, I'm happy for him. I wouldn't have taken him 1 overall, but he sure seems like he's got his head. He's got a really clear head on his shoulders. If you don't think they're a little concerned about their quarterback situation, knowing full well Will Levis is out for the year, then you're mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
They're concerned. They're handing the keys over to a rookie, and as bad as Will Levis was, you wouldn't mind him as a backup with some of this other stuff going on, right? Look at all the teams in the National Football League and you ask them, what are your big concerns? I bet you most fan bases, among other things, would say backup quarterback. They're worried about it because not many of them, if any of them, feel confident. Like you and I would absolutely take a guy like you just mentioned, Kirk Cousins, right?
Yeah.
You think
absolutely.
people in Atlanta would?
No.
I mean, considering what he did last year over a 6-game stretch, there's probably some deep concerns there. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. I mean, you got to be there's a careful line you've got to walk when it comes to that position specifically.
We're talking about quarterbacks, obviously, with Jared Goff. I'm glad that the Detroit Lions actually went out this offseason and decided that they wanted to do things like going ahead and bring in an Isaac Tesla, invest in it. Why? Because I think you need that. I think you need the level of athleticism. I think his route running is going to be something crucial for the Detroit Lions. When you're talking about the attention that we saw, the new attention that we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown get, the attention that we saw, and the role that we saw Sam Laporta have to play, we have to believe that Jameson Williams put himself on the map and on the radar. We have to believe that.
What do you mean? What do you mean the radar? I mean,
listen, there was a time where you hear, oh, he could take the top off of defense, but did people believe it? He didn't prove it yet. Now he goes over 1,000 yards. He's going to get a little bit more attention this year. So I do believe that this offense sets up well for a guy like Isaac Tesla to take advantage of the seams. You got a timing, kind of really accurate quarterback in Jared Goff. Isaac Tesla type wide receivers, they pair well with a guy like Jared Goff. And this is where, to kind of go back to your point of one of these rookies that you believe deserves to start and maybe will be starting day one, I think Tesla is that guy.
Well, I didn't say he deserves to start. I said I expect him to.
Yeah. Let me be more appropriate. Expect.
You know, you've got to take that position. Tim Patrick has earned the opportunity, as long as he plays well in practice, he's earned the opportunity to be the number 3. All I'm saying is I don't invest trading picks to go up and get a guy like Isaac Tesla
when you have other needs too,
and the 3rd round, and think to myself, if he makes it, great. If he doesn't, no big deal. He's not a contributor. It's not a 6th-round draft pick. Like everyone's talking about Hassanin, and I get it because of the position he plays. We think we're set at wide receiver. You're not worried about St. Brown. No. You're not worried about Williams right now, okay? Maybe you're not even worried about a guy like Tim Patrick. I don't know. But we feel like the other 2 guys are just fine. The defensive end, we look at 6th round, and we're like, I don't care if it's a 6th round. This guy wants to be here. He practices his moves like off of what Aiden Hutchinson does, and we need that position. That's the reason we push so hard for it, is because of the position he plays and what we consider to be a weakness of what we hope will be a Super Bowl team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's it for the most part. It's incredible, but
he's the one that we need to be starter ready. If there's a rookie that you need, obviously you're looking at Tate with that offensive line.
Really, you think Hassanin?
Tate on the offensive side, Tate is the guy you need. On the defensive side, there's
Tate Ratledge,
Tate Ratledge, on the offensive side. On the defensive side, you're looking at that edge position and everything that you're hearing. Now I know 6th-round pick. If he was a 3rd or 4th-round pick, I believe people will be saying he's the guy on the defense that you absolutely need. If there's a young guy, you absolutely need him to pan out. I do believe Hassanin, he is a guy that can be a floor raiser, but there was a lot of people who were left with a lot to be desired after that first game. I thought he showed some good. I think he's a new guy getting his feet wet. But I do believe if he shows serviceability, if he shows his best ability is that he's going to actually be there.
He did have 4 tackles. I think he graded out.
Played the run
well.
I thought he was the highest graded from PFF.
Yeah, I thought he was too. So maybe we weren't paying close enough attention to him.
What do we expect from him? Because Tesla's a guy who, if I see him getting wide receiver 3 and 4, I'm not surprised. Hassanin is a guy who, if I saw him in the regular rotation to start the season, at one point I would have been surprised. I really would have. Now, the way that I'm seeing things, the way that I'm hearing things, I'm going to be a little less surprised if this guy goes out there and shows out in that opposite, that edge position, whether it's in rotation, backing up, going in there and doing whatever they're asking him to do. And I know he said he wants to get his feet wet, and he did with special teams, because he wants to be on the field to play at all costs, any cost. He just wants to be out there and contribute to the team. This is why I'm hoping that in game 2, as we're talking about, we want to see out of Hendon Hooker, you want to see Tesla go out there and be a really, really big target, important target for Hooker. But I'm looking for Hassanin. If there's one player in particular I'm looking at this week, even over Hooker, it is Hassanin. You're talking about a guy who you're hoping can contribute to this team while you're waiting for pass rushers to get healthy. I know that we're waiting for Lee McNeil from the interior, but he's a guy that makes it easier for your edges to get home. And I don't know how much stock people put in Malcolm Rodriguez, but I do believe that that's an underrated loss that we're not paying enough attention to. When you're talking about those couple players, that is where I'm hoping that a guy like Hassanin, and you have to add in Davenport and the injury concerns. This is where I believe there is a lot of opportunity for Hassanin, and you do want to see this guy pan out on the defensive side.
Yeah, so I see
sooner
him
rather than later.
I see him a little bit differently. I see him as a 3 on the depth chart. I could be wrong there. And you're right about the injuries aspect. Like Josh Paschal can be an important one. Like we focus, and I do too, on the big names, a guy like Aleem McNeil, but there are certain role players that are really important that will allow them to develop Hassanin throughout this process. If I'm relying, I shouldn't focus so much on the round of a draft pick, but if I'm relying on a 6th rounder, I've got some issues.
Yeah.
All right. So my hope is that this team is going to get Mohammed. Be able to be a guy who is more of a contributor. If there's, like you mentioned, Davenport, Paschal, who can go inside and or outside. Those are the guys that I want to see. That's why I think it's really important. Like I think Tesla's more about to play a prominent role in this team's success than Hassanin.
I think that Tesla is going to start the season with that, but I believe Hassanin is going to be thrusted into that at some point
because of injuries.
I do not trust the Davenport.
I don't blame
signing.
you.
And that's where I'm saying since we're already starting the season with injuries, there was at one point we thought Aleem was going to be there to start the season. Then we thought, he'll miss 2 or 3 games. Now it could be the first 7 weeks of the season. Now it could be he's not back to after the bye week. Then Malcolm Rodriguez, people assumed he would be back. And we saw what he did in the second half of that season, especially with Kelvin Shepard taking a little bit more of a hold over the defense. Think about it now with his defensive coordinator in tow. Now you're missing 2 of these guys who were instrumental at helping to generate pass rush. And that's where I'm saying if they have any injury to a Davenport, if they have any injury to a Pascal, surprise, that could happen. Now all of a sudden, it's just AQM who popped up on the scene for us last year.
Yeah.
And what if he wasn't ready? So that's why I'm like,
wasn't there a time last year where you were like, I can't believe we're relying on this dude?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot. A lot.
Okay. So that's the same situation with Hassanin, as far as I'm concerned.
Sign Big Z. Where's Darius Smith?
Well, I mean,
there's a reason he's at Cash Dow's house.
Well, let me ask you a question. I mean, that's easy for me to say, and I've said it too. Yeah. Sign Big Z. How come no one else has signed him?
That's what I'm saying. I say don't sign him.
I mean, if he's that good,
it's a reason people. I don't know what it is. There's a reason they haven't signed him.
You anti-Z?
Yeah. No. Once it went past like 2 or 3 weeks and no one signed him, I was like, okay, we gotta stay away from this guy. And he was walking around dressed as Cash Doll. Like, let's leave that alone.
This is an interesting one for me because you talk about a guy who. He was brought here. We talked about what he did to carry this team, lead this team in sacks when he got here, and what he could be opposite of Hutch. That's what I was actually.
He had 4 sacks, man.
4 sacks.
I feel like there's something. There's something they're not telling us.
I don't think he carried the team.
Yeah, there's something they're
not
telling us.
defensively, but on that defensive line, I don't think that the pass rush is going to be better without him there. And I do believe if you talk about having him here with a Hutch,
well, they obviously felt that. I mean, if you believe in Brad Holmes and you believe in Dan Campbell and you believe in a lot of these guys, they feel like they could have brought him back. They didn't have to sign Marcus Davenport. Now, there was a part of me that wishes they had. They didn't have to sign certain free agents, and they chose to do that.
They got Ricky on speed dial, huh? You know the scoop on Zadarius Smith?
No, I really don't. I wish I did, but nah.
What is? And I liked him, by the way. Okay. What's the fascination there? Do you really think he's an elite player that they're missing out on?
Not elite, but I do believe next to Hutch, if he got the 4 sacks as the only guy on that defensive line effectively, I do believe that he has an opportunity to get home even more or to be able to cause some havoc, chase the quarterback into the waiting arms of Aiden Hutchinson or when Aleem McNeil gets back.
You don't think
being
Marcus
able to push
Davenport
back.
can do that?
I just don't think he's gonna be healthy.
Marcus Davenport has proven that.
I don't think he's gonna be healthy.
Oh, okay.
That's my thing. I think he's gonna play for like 4 games.
That's fine, and I understand why you'd think that because I think that's logic. I think you're right to think that. But in his career, if you look at what he's done, at least once with the New Orleans Saints,
13.
Okay, double-digit sacks.
If he plays,
stuff,
he's
right?
it. He's it. So trust me. And I've had to come to terms with that too. Talking with shout out to KG as well. KG's like, look, if this guy plays, and you look at the seasons where he plays, he's it.